Hey, what's happening, guys? I hope you're having a great day wherever you are. I've actually been meaning to make this video for a while now, and that's because I get asked from time to time if I have a keto grocery shopping list or a keto food list for some of the most essential, best keto foods and food products that I'm using in most of my recipes. And the answer to that has always been no, until today's video. So today I'm sharing with you guys 10 of my most essential staple keto foods and food products that you should add to your shopping list, especially if you're thinking about making some of my recipes. But really, these are just great to have as part of your keto shopping list, period. That said, let's jump right into it and talk about some of these keto pantry essentials. So this should come as no surprise to you guys. The first thing on my keto shopping list is blanched almond flour, specifically this one by Kirkland's. A lot of you guys know I use this stuff in pretty much all of my recipes, mainly because I can buy a ton of it off Amazon. I think I get like three 3-pound bags of this stuff, and it's super affordable. We don't have a Costco here, otherwise I'd go to Costco and buy some directly from Costco. But in Buffalo, Costco doesn't exist. Also, this Kirkland's blanched almond flour has the lowest net carbs for any flour alternative you're gonna find. Even almond flours, a lot of different almond flours have more net carbs per serving than this does. This has the lowest at 2 grams of net carbs per 28 gram serving. So the price and the net carbs, both great, but what I also love about it is just that it's easy to work with. It's easy to make recipes with this stuff. Whereas if you use other low carb, keto friendly flour alternatives like coconut flour, they're not as easy to work with. So coconut flour, for instance, is super absorbent. Think about coconut flour as like a sponge. It's just gonna soak up all the liquid in a recipe. Almond flour is not like that at all. Think about almond flour as almost like a rubber boot. It's not absorbing all that liquid in a recipe. So that's why you should never try to substitute coconut flour for almond flour in recipes, because it is the fastest way how to dry something out and the quickest way to just ruin a recipe, period. So if you learn one thing from today's video, I hope it's that you never try to substitute coconut flour for almond flour in another recipe ever again. That said, if you want to substitute almond flour out of a recipe, the best way to do it is with sunflower seed flour. Sunflower seed flour is totally keto friendly, and also you can substitute it on a 1-to-1 basis with almond flour. So just keep that in mind if you have a nut allergy or you just don't want to eat as many almonds in your diet. Second on my keto shopping list is coconut flour. I get this stuff from my local grocery store, which is Wegmans. And as far as the keto diet goes, this is probably the second most popular flour that there is, behind almond flour, obviously. I've got a keto coconut macaroon recipe that I use this in, super delicious. I've got some keto coconut flour pancakes that I use this in, also very delicious. But I try not to use this in a lot of my keto recipes just because the net carbs are quite a bit higher than they are in almond flour. So for every 14 gram serving of this coconut flour, it has 4 net carbs. That's like 4 times as many net carbs as almond flour has. So that's one reason I don't like to use it a lot. The other reason is just because, like we were saying before, it's kind of hard to work with because coconut flour is so absorbent. It soaks up all the liquid. And I find that a lot of times when I use this, it dries things out. But that said, it does come in handy from time to time. And I feel like if I didn't include this in my keto shopping list, people would have lost their minds in the comments, because coconut flour is obviously such a popular flour to use in the keto diet. So the third thing on my keto shopping list is pretty much how I sweeten up all my keto recipes, except for ice cream, but we'll talk about that in a second. And that is all the different kinds of Swerve. I get this stuff at my local grocery store, which is Wegmans, but I think Target sells it. I think Walmart's selling it now. And it really is a fantastic way to sweeten anything up in a low carb keto friendly way, because this stuff has 0 net carbs and 0 calories. And I want to take a second to clear something up for you guys, because this is a very confusing thing for a lot of people. And that is the amount of carbs in Swerve. A lot of people think that Swerve has 3 grams of carbs because it's listed as 3 grams of carbs on the back package. However, this is not true, guys. Every gram of carbs has 4 calories. And if Swerve had 3 grams of carbs per serving, the calories would read 12 calories, because every gram of carbs has 4 calories. However, Swerve again has 0 calories per serving, so there are 0 carbs per serving as well. The reason this has to say 3 grams of carbs is because the FDA is making companies list sugar alcohols as carbs, even though those sugar alcohols might not actually have any carbs. I know that's really confusing, but blame the FDA, because that's who's making companies make these packages like this. Anyways, I want to give you guys another pro tip regarding Swerve, and that is I use confectioner Swerve a lot in my recipes just because it dissolves so well. A lot of times I get a question, and that is, I only have granulated Swerve at my house. Can I use this instead of the confectioners in the recipe? And my response to that is just take the granulated Swerve, add it to your blender, and blend it into a fine powder, and you've basically made yourself confectioner Swerve. So just keep that in mind if I'm making a recipe with confectioner Swerve and all you have is this stuff at home. So if Swerve was number 3 on my keto shopping list, this is number 3B on the keto shopping list, and that is allulose. Allulose, just like Swerve, has 0 net carbs and 0 calories per serving. But the only thing about this stuff is I've only been able to find it online right now. The reason I'm including allulose is because I think that this is going to be a very, very popular keto-friendly low-carb sweetener in the very near future. The reason I say that is because a lot of people complain that there's a cooling taste in their mouth if they use Swerve, and that is not the case with allulose. Also, allulose is my new go-to for all of my keto ice cream recipes, and that's because this stuff keeps your ice cream creamy for days after you make it. Where if you make keto ice cream with Swerve and you freeze it for several hours, like overnight, it can get really, really hard. For whatever reason, if you use allulose instead, the ice cream stays super creamy. Number 4 on my keto shopping list, it's like some kind of black magic. And if you've seen any of my recipes, then this is probably no surprise to you because you know I love chocolate and you know I love chocolate chips. I love adding chocolate chips to anything I possibly can add them to. And that's because these chocolate chips are totally keto friendly. In fact, they have 0 net carbs. And when you taste these, your mind's blown, like, how do these chocolate chips have 0 net carbs? Because they're so good. As far as where I get these from, I get these from Wegmans, which is where I get most of my groceries from. I think they also sell them at Whole Foods, but I don't think that these are at Target or Walmart. Speaking of Whole Foods, these are kind of on the pricey side. It's like the only downside to these chocolate chips is that they are kind of expensive, but they are so worth it. So number 5 on my keto shopping list is all about flavor, and that is extracts. A lot of people are familiar with vanilla extract. It's a very common ingredient in a lot of baking, but what people don't know is that there are a lot of different other extracts that you can use to add flavor to recipes, especially keto recipes, and not add all the carbs to those recipes. So for instance, there's something called banana extract that all you need is a 1/4 teaspoon or a 1/2 teaspoon of this stuff, and you'll have the flavor of 2 or 3 bananas in whatever you're making. So some of you guys might know I've made keto banana bread with this, keto banana muffins with this. I've even made keto banana ice cream with this. And if you tasted any of those recipes, you would have sworn real bananas were in those recipes. However, it was just banana extract, and those recipes had way less carbs and they were totally keto friendly. Number 6 on my low carb keto shopping list is coconut oil. I love to use coconut oil in a lot of different recipes, mainly because it ends up in a denser, chewier result than it would if you used butter. So for cookie recipes, coconut oil is really nice to use. A lot of times people ask me if they can substitute butter for the coconut oil, and my answer to that is yeah, you can. You're probably not going to get that chewiness that you want out of whatever you're making, especially like I said, if you're making cookies, but I'd rather you substitute ghee with coconut oil than butter because ghee has more similar properties to coconut oil than butter does. So just keep that in mind if you want to substitute coconut oil out in any of my recipes. So number 7 on my keto shopping list is xanthan gum. I like to use xanthan gum in a lot of different recipes that involve dough. So for instance, my keto pizza recipe, keto bread recipes, keto chaffles I made using xanthan gum, and my keto tortilla recipe also use xanthan gum. What I like about xanthan gum is it typically adds a chewiness to a recipe. Also, it gives things a bendability and pliability. So for instance, those tortillas, the xanthan gum was a main factor in giving it that rollability and pliability that tortillas typically have. So xanthan gum can be used in a lot of different ways, a lot of different recipes, and it has 0 net carbs. There's no net carbs in here. It's all fiber, so that's awesome. As far as where you can find this stuff, just check the baking aisle of pretty much any store, Target, Walmart, Wegmans, Whole Foods, Publix, Kroger, anywhere that there's a baking aisle, you probably can find xanthan gum in that aisle. And you can also find it online. I'll put a link in the video description too. But really, if you want to take your bread or dough recipes to the next level, gotta use some xanthan gum. So like I already told you guys, I love chocolate. I'm a chocoholic. I've made a ton of chocolate recipes on the channel, as a lot of you guys know. And the number 8 thing on my keto grocery list is unsweetened cocoa powder, specifically the special dark unsweetened cocoa powder by Hershey's. I love this stuff. It's deeper, it's richer. It just has more chocolate flavor than regular unsweetened cocoa powder. And aesthetically, it makes things look deeper and richer and more chocolatier because it's just a deeper color of cocoa powder. So I love that about it, but I also love the fact that it has 1 net carb, just like regular unsweetened cocoa powder has. That said, it's getting cold outside. And what does that mean? It means it's hot cocoa season. I love hot cocoa. I already did a keto hot cocoa recipe on the channel, and this stuff is a main ingredient to making yourself some keto hot cocoa. That said, anywhere where there's a baking aisle, you can usually find this stuff. Just look for the regular unsweetened cocoa powder. You're probably gonna find this stuff next to it. So Walmart, Wegmans, Whole Foods, all those places, they have this stuff in the baking aisle. Just give a look for it. Number 9 on my keto grocery shopping list is keto-friendly pancake syrup. This one by Walden Farms has 0 calories and 0 carbs, and I like to use this in a lot of my recipes. Not just to put on top of pancakes and waffles, but actually to put inside of the recipe itself. Especially like pumpkin spice stuff, add a little sweetness and maple flavor at the same time with a little bit of this pancake syrup. It is like an out of the park home run. It's really, really delicious. However, if you never had this before and you make a lot of keto pancakes and waffles, this is like an essential pantry item that you have to have. That said, not everything that Walden Farms makes is good. Actually, nothing is good except for this pancake syrup. This is the only thing good they've ever made. So don't waste your money on any of the other stuff. The 10th and final item on my keto grocery shopping list is nut butters. I'm sure a lot of you guys are not surprised by this because I love peanut butter. It is literally one of my favorite things in the entire world. But nut butters like this, not just peanut butter, if you have a peanut allergy, nut butters can be a fantastic way to increase your fat intake throughout the day and really help you get those ratios right in terms of what you're looking for the keto diet because they're so fat heavy. That being said, there's one thing you want to look for when you're shopping for nut butters like these, and that is that there's no added sugar to your nut butters. For instance, this is sunflower seed butter, only ingredients in here, sunflower seeds and salt. This is peanut butter, only ingredients in here, peanut butter and salt. And this is almond butter, and literally the only thing in here is almonds. There's no sugar in any of these jars, and a lot of companies sneak added sugars into their nut butters. So that's why it's super important that you're reading the labels on the back of the package, because if you're doing a low carb keto diet, you obviously want to avoid eating those added sugars. So those are 10 of my most essential keto grocery shopping list items. Pretty much all those are staples to my keto pantry. I'm sure I missed a few go-tos though, so if you've got some essentials, some staples to your keto pantry, let me know, let everybody else know what they are in the comments below, because I'm sure we'd all appreciate the ideas that would be down there. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next one.